Our next guest is Jordan Swing. I have known Jordan's mom and dad for quite a while now. And those of you that remember high school basketball, him playing at Vestavia, went to Western Kentucky, back at UAB, played a lot of basketball in this area. And up until last month, was playing professionally in Ukraine. He's back here in the States now and with us on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline. What's up, Jordan? Good to see you again.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So you've been in Ukraine how long playing professionally?
I was actually just there for about almost 3 months, like 2.5, almost 3 months. I signed to go there around end of November, and then ended up leaving right around mid-February.
So you had barely had time to get your feet under you and even see anything of the country. So with all that has happened there in the last month and a half, to say this has been a whirlwind, I would guess is a heck of an understatement.
Yeah, it's been crazy. Like, kind of when I was in it, I don't think I kind of realized like the magnitude of what all was going on. Once I got home, got on the other side of it and had a chance to look back and start watching news and stuff, I kind of realized how big of a deal it actually was, and just feel real lucky that I was able to get out when I did.
Yeah. So how did that process, I mean, how did it go? I mean, were you given a heads up, hey, look, this is about to get really bad, you need to catch the next flight out?
Yeah, it was a tough judgment because over there, the people of Ukraine, they seemed to think nothing was going to happen. They didn't think an invasion was going to happen, especially our club. We were, kind of told day by day that to just calm down. Like, they've been dealing with this since 2014. Russia's not going to invade. And so up until about, the start of February, end of January, start of February, I mean, I was just going about life just normal. I didn't really think much of it. The people there, they've had to deal with it for so long. They just go about their lives as nothing's happening, even though, the conflict is always on the border. And so around the end of January, beginning of February, we started getting alerts from the U.S. Embassy there in Ukraine, and just kind of warning us like, hey, you need to be on the lookout. There's some stuff going on in Russia, and they're doing some stuff that is leading towards an invasion. They can't say that it's going to happen. At the end of January, they called all non-essential workers, U.S. workers, back to the U.S. And my wife was out there with me. So when they did that, I kind of told my wife, you should go home now. I'll stay, and if it does get any worse, I'll come later. So she went home around the end of January. And then a couple weeks later, we got another message from the embassy, and it was more serious. I feel like it was right after Biden had went on and talked about how they're not going to send troops in if a war does break out. So if you choose to stay, you're going to be on your own as far as getting home. And when they sent that one, I got together with the other 5 Americans on my team, and we kind of made a decision to go home, because on top of that, we were also hearing like military plans of, hey, Kiev, which is the capital where I was living, is going to be one of the first points where they attack. It'll be by air first, and then they're going to send troops in. And there was also some dates that were floating around of when it was going to happen. So when all that started to come out, it kind of became more than a contract and finishing a basketball season. We had to start thinking about, our livelihoods and staying healthy and getting out safe. So when that happened, we decided to go to the team and tell them, hey, we don't feel safe enough being here. We're gonna leave. And it was, what made it a tough decision is the team wasn't, I guess, on our sides in this. They wanted us to stay. Of course, I mean, the basketball season was still going on at that point, and there was no invasion yet. So they were, saying that they were going to seek compensation and try and sue us and hold our letter of intent if we left. Letter of clearance if we left. And that's big for us, because if we don't have that letter of clearance, we can't go play anywhere else. And, that's how a lot of us make our money and pay the bills. So to make the decision to leave, it was a tough decision. But at the time, we felt like it was the right decision. And at the end of the day, looking back on it now, it was a good decision.
Jordan Swing is with us, JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline. 2 things. One, are you responsible yourself getting out, or was there a government agency that helped you guys get flights out? And the second thing is, you also played in Israel
for several years. You know, I know that Israel isn't what it always is on the news. Did you ever feel like your safety in any of the other places you played around the world was ever in jeopardy?
Okay. For the first one, we actually were on our own as far as like getting flights home, which it's not hard because the war hadn't actually started. So, you know, there was still a lot of flights that were leaving, and normally the team does book it for you, but in this case, they weren't really like in agreement with us leaving. So we had to kind of do all that stuff on our own. And it wasn't hard getting out at that point. I did have one of the Americans that stayed, and the war broke out. He was still there, and it was a pretty crazy story of how he got out just shortly, I guess. I mean, from Kiev to Poland is like a 5.5 hour drive, and it took him almost 4 days to get across the border.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Yeah, and he said he was, you know, at train stations, and people are literally like fighting to get on these trains. And he said that even when they were getting on, people were like pulling at their backpacks trying to get them off, and so they could get on. He said it was chaos, really. But he's back now, so he's back safely. It just took him, I think, like 4 or 5, maybe 6 days to even get back on a flight. So, and then on your second one, Israel, I played there for 2 years. I also was, you know, skeptical before going because the U.S. news has a tendency to over exaggerate things. And so when I did decide to go there, I got there and it was amazing. I will say there were 2 times when I was kind of like uneasy because Gaza is the little Palestinian settlement that's in the south of Israel. They did send some missiles, but Israel has this thing called the Iron Dome, and it intercepts like 98 or 99% of missiles that get launched in there. So, you know, none ever hit, you know, like next to me. I guess there was one that hit in the city that I lived, but they're, you know, 10 to 20 foot blast radius. They're not these like huge missiles that you would think of. Still scary, I will admit, and they have a little more under control because Israel, their military and all that stuff is way bigger than the Palestinian settlement. So it's you don't really feel in danger when I was there, and it was a lot different than being in Ukraine because in Ukraine, you know, you have Russia, who is, you know, way bigger than the Ukrainian army. And if they wanted to, like they're doing now, like they can invade and they can take it over. So in Israel, it's not like that. Like the Gaza settlement, they can never take over Israel. It's just a fact of like Israel not wanting to go in there and have to kill innocent people to take over the radicals that are there. So it was definitely a different feel. And I never left Israel because of this stuff going on. So.
Jordan Swing is with us on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline. A month ago, he was playing basketball professionally in Ukraine, back here in the States now. Like when I watch a movie and you're an American and somewhere where the crap goes down, you get to the embassy, do you at least locate the embassy and know where it is just in case it happens overnight?
No, for sure. That was actually one of the first things we did when we got there because there was talks, you know, of some unrest at the border. It wasn't as near as what it was, you know, at the end of January, but because of that, right when we got there, we located the embassy, and me and my wife both like registered with the embassy so that they knew we were there, and that's how we were getting those like alerts.
So what's the next move? Are you going to get? I would assume this. You get your clearance papers now. This is
yeah.
So once you get your clearance papers, what's your next move as a professional basketball player?
Yeah, I'm in contact with my agent, and we're just looking for new situations. I've actually already got 2 offers from Poland, but me and my wife decided it's a little too close to everything that was going on, so we ended up turning those down. And you know, it's kind of a waiting game right now. You wait, see who's interested. Some teams are making changes in Europe right now because, you know, it's getting close to playoffs. There's only about a month and a half left in the seasons. So people are trying to make a playoff push, and some people are trying to, you know, just stay in leagues. So there are some teams making changes, and it'll just have to be the right fit, I think, because just going through all that we just did, it was pretty hectic. So to pick up and move again, it would have to be, you know, the perfect situation. And then I'm looking into stuff like possibly joining the G League team here for the last month and a half. And even like I have an offer in Puerto Rico that's a summer league gig. So just some stuff that I'm trying to sort through and figure out what's going to be the best situation for me in my career.
Well, I'm lucky enough to follow you guys on Instagram, and some of the travel spots you guys hit. It looks like a great way to continue to play a sport you love, and while you guys are newly married, to travel the world. It's fascinating to watch. So Spain, Israel, Germany, we'll take Ukraine out. Did you have a favorite location you've played so far that you enjoyed the most?
Yeah, actually, there's two of them that I guess stick out to me the most, and that was I did a stint in Australia for 6 months.
Really?
During they had like a summer league thing down there, and I loved Australia. I live like 10 minutes from the beach. The weather's incredible. Everybody speaks English, so just those factors really helped. And then my second would be Israel. I love the basketball there. It's a good league. And then of course, like being a Christian, all the incredible sites, like an off day, I was going to Jerusalem and like exploring the old city, or going up to the Sea of Galilee and Capernaum where, Jesus did a lot of his ministry. So being able to do those things just like on a regular basis was just, it was a really cool.
I know you were only there for a minute, but Ukrainian food, how was it?
It was okay. It kind of took me a while to find my spots. But yeah, once I kind of find those restaurants that I really liked, that they had some good food for sure.
What is the atmosphere like? I mean, you played at Vestavia, Western Kentucky, UAB. Yeah. Your dad played for the Cleveland Cavaliers, so he actually played in the NBA. So you've been around the game your whole life. What's the atmosphere like at these games?
It depends. I've been to some places where basketball's, a second sport, maybe even a third, because soccer is huge over there. And then they have stuff like handball that a lot of countries like really enjoy. And so in the places where basketball's been number one, for instance, Germany, also in Israel, basketball is one or two for sure. And then in Spain, they absolutely love basketball. So in those places, like the gyms, they're really nice. You got 5,000, 10,000 seat arenas, played in Real Madrid, and that's like equivalent to an NBA arena. And so I played in some really cool places, and yeah, the fans are, they're passionate over there for sure. Definitely passionate.
They have a fine bomb over there that criticizes coaches or anything?
Oh yeah, those guys are everywhere, man.
There's a fine bomb in every port. Well, Jordan, man, we're glad you're safe. You and your family are safe, first of all, and we wish you all the best moving forward. I know you'll land somewhere great. You always have, and we greatly appreciate the time.
Yeah, thank y'all for having me on. I really enjoyed it.
Yep, we appreciate it, man. Take care of yourself. That is Jordan Swing, Vestavia product, played at UAB in Western Kentucky, most recently in Ukraine. He was with us on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline.